Thanks for joining, everyone. We're going to go ahead and hop into a dinger draft here. Perfect. Only two away. Just going to finish up a little bit of setup and tweet out that we're live, and I'll be back in a few minutes here once we fill this up to get going. All right, so coming back up here, I see that we have the third overall pick. So initial tendencies are definitely leaning towards outfield here. We'll see at the top. Judge goes 1-1. That's no surprise there. No real names that I recognize. And then Acuna. Interesting. So Acuna's normally been the guy that I've been clicking at that spot if he makes it to me. Obviously, Judge would have been nice as well. Honestly, with a lot of these top guys, you can't go wrong in what you're doing. It's probably a little too early in the draft for me to look outfielder. So I'm going to go ahead and just tap Juan Soto and see what makes it back to us on the turn here. Don't know if anyone's been watching the WBC or not, but we have the first semifinal starting today. Cuba USA. I think starts in the next half an hour here, so that'll be a fun thing to throw on as well as we're hanging out here this afternoon. Yeah, no real surprises so far. Our 1 through 6 are pretty standard. I think most of the time you're going to see these first 8 picks kind of be all yellow in these drafts, anyways. So not much of a surprise. Oh, as I say that, Trey Turner comes off the board. That's a shock, eh? Wrong right away. J-Ram. Yeah, we're still a little early to be projecting out for our next pick here. Garrett Cole action. Trout actually lasting till 11th is kind of surprising. It's a little later than I usually see him going, but Freddie. So how about all you guys? Have you been getting in a lot of these best ball drafts? I've really been enjoying them. It's a fun, quick exercise. It's a little different than season-long fantasy since you're not really worried about traditional categories like saves. I've kind of placed less of an emphasis on pitcher. You can see that our man Captain Morgan 59 here does not, as he goes pocket aces off the start, which is something I've done a few times if I don't really like the options that are kind of following to me at the back end of this draft here. But honestly, grabbing Cole Burns 1-1 and shoring up your rotation isn't a bad thing necessarily. Schwarber, Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt sneaking up until the early second round is something that I haven't seen much of. and is a little, again, a little earlier than we see him go. But hey, if he's one of the guys you have conviction in this format, especially, who can argue? So we're getting to that point where we can kind of predict out a little bit. Honestly, in this spot here, I've kind of been clicking on either of the two Padres. Machado goes. We got the two big slugging first basemen as well as Tatis. So because we're so close on the turn here, what are we going to be looking to do? I think it's a little early for us to thrust up one of these outfielders like Harris or Rosarina. Um, Between Tatis and Alonso, honestly, I think Tatis has the highest floor or highest ceiling of anyone here. He could go. I've taken a lot of them. We're on the clock. You know what? Let's get the stability. Let's lock in that infield position and go with Polar Pete. And see, I doubt it. Maybe we'll see if Tatis and he goes off the board as well right after us. So not much of a surprise there. Either would have been a great option for the team, kind of given our current start. But yeah, what are you gonna do? All right, here I don't really love going pitcher. I'm out on Sandy this year. I think my shares of him are pretty minimal overall when you're looking at my exposures and everything like this. So that might be a bit of a tough sell. We like Riley. Nola goes. He would have been someone I definitely would have considered. I do think DeGrom has like one of the highest ceilings for a pitcher, but it's all about him staying healthy, of course. And Sandy goes there. So let's see. Uh, because we have so long to wait and everything comes off the board, I'm going to go ahead and grab Randy. A tough choice between him and Olsen. I like Bichette in that spot too. I think all of them are going to have good seasons. But you'll really see as we get into these later rounds, and I think this has been emphasized by a lot of people at this point, there's so much value in those mid to late rounds for outfielder that when you kind of have the chance to go ahead and grab the outfielder just to add up another body, get some more yellow in your lineup, I'm kind of tend to bias to do that. And yeah, Olsen and Bichette go off the board right after. That's not much of a surprise on that one. Mm. All right, 10 picks away. What's happened here? So we had Randy, Olsen, Bichette, Scherzer, DeGrom go. Again, two super high upside pitchers. Health, age, obviously being a little bit of a concern. But again, when two studs like that, what can you really do or say? Brian Reynolds, Money Mac, Altuve, nice little slip on Harris there. I've seen him going up, honestly, right around where I took Randy before, kind of right up around the start of the third round. Honestly, if I had a couple of Braves on my team, I might have been a little more biased to lean that way. But if I'm not getting the natural stack, I'm not really too excited about grabbing a player that I have lower in my rankings for the upcoming year than a lot of people do. Corbin Carroll. What's everyone's thoughts on Corbin Carroll this year? I know he hits the ball hard. Actually, that's a little later than I've seen him. I've usually seen him kind of going up above Springer and Mullins, so that's a bit of a drop for Carroll in this one here. But yeah, I like he definitely hits the ball hard. But man, a small sample size for him to be going as high as he is in this current draft is a little tough on my mind. Yeah, just kind of given some of the other options that are around him, you know? Lindor, and just like that, we're back up on the clock. Lindor would have been nice there to kind of pair up with that. Wow, interesting. We had a real run on infielder go there. Usually I see a lot of these guys kind of slipping back. So what are we going to look to do here? Dylan Cease goes, and we're on the clock. Soto, Randy, kind of tempted to double tap outfielder here. You know what I want to try to do? What I think will be fun is I think I try to grab the Chicago White Sox natural stack here. That'll be kind of cool. So let's go ahead and grab the tool shed this time. And hope Eloy slips back to us. If not, I'm fine tapping on Buxton or Teo. Avasale would have been a decent pick as well, but he's good. Don't get me wrong. He just doesn't really get me excited, you know. And like half of the decisions I make on drafting these teams is if there's a tiebreaker in terms of who I think I'm actually going to want to watch play ball that year, then I'm a little more likely to go with that guy for sure. So I think that some of my exposures on some of those guys could kind of be a little higher, but just own personal bias, I'm tending to shy away from certain names. And we see Yelich go, which is pretty early for Yelich, kind of sliding up above this trio here that I have clicked onto my screen. Seager would be another nice option. I do think that there's a pretty sizable drop off in infield tier kind of after he goes, so we can do Seager here as well. And Buxton goes. Yeah, no, I think we stick with the original plan. We grab Eloy. I could look to get on the board with some pitching at this point with Framber and Castillo, but kind of looking at some of these names here, I'd be fine grabbing any of them if they sort of made it back. Yeah, so let's just go Eloy Jimenez and kind of make a bit of a hedge on the White Sox this year. I like this as well because getting some of the White Sox bats in the lineup, there's a few good names later on for value as well. Like I know that Andrew Vaughn here is a guy that I like as a bit of a post-hype breaker. Yoan Moncada, can't spell today. Here we go, all the way down at 227. And again, I'm not saying that these guys are necessarily for sure locks in, but I can already tell sort of the build we're looking for after the first couple rounds of this. We go pretty outfielder heavy with Soto, Rosarina, Robert, and Jimenez. It's probably going to be, depending on what we can do for our next one, a 5-6 max on the outfielder, and then we'll try to really squeeze some value out of pitchers and infielders a little later on as the draft progresses. So after I picked Jimenez, we see Teoscar go off the board, followed by Chris Bryant, Corey Seager, Giancarlo, Rondon, and Albies. So yeah, that tier of infielders just got gobbled up as well. And this is what I was talking about. At this point in the draft, again, like now all of a sudden we're down to an injured Bryce Harper, and we really have a clump of purple up at the top, right? So depending on what you're looking for, that could be a good option, but I'm pretty satisfied with how this is shaping out so far based on our team. Yeah, so we're a fairly new channel. I'm just getting started here on YouTube, hoping to bring a lot of this, like best ball, daily fantasy content, and just kind of overall chill hangout, chat, streams. Think about some of my player decisions, get what thoughts are going through your guys' heads as you're making the picks for your team. Tyler O'Neill, wow. That's really early for him. Interesting. I wonder what... Let's take a look at his roster, hey? Here we go. Yeah, yeah. 85 and 60. Hey, sometimes you gotta go get your guy, you know? Who cares if he has the 85th or ADP? If you want him and you're that sure on him, go ahead and get him in the 6th, I guess. All right, what are we looking to do coming up? Oh, it would be the dream if somehow 2-2. Hailers might look to pick a pitcher if it shits there. Yeah, I don't know. It would be so sweet if Castillo or Javier made it back to us on this. That would give us our ace, and without having us to overextend. Bogarts goes, Urias goes. Oh, we might have a chance here. We might have a chance here. Yeah, like I was saying, we're a new channel. I'm gonna be trying to bring videos to you a couple times a week here. So if you go ahead and subscribe, as well as click that like button, it helps us out tremendously. Castillo goes. We'll take a quick look at our little roster here. We have Robbie Ray, who's been getting some positive buzz out of spring for sure, but I think there's a clear drop off in the pitcher tier when we look down between this. Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll grab Christian Javier and lock in our first rotation arm. Now, coming back here, we're falling behind a little bit in infield, which is fine. I say come. Oh, and there goes the guy that I was gonna. Yeah, of course. And O'Neill goes. So let's see. I'm fine going pitcher here again. If somehow Ray lasts. I really like Freed as well. Jazz would have been nice. Infield, what are we doing at infield? See, I don't really like Hoskins that much more than kind of these later first base when we get down to Pasquantino or Christian Walker. So I just think there's a little bit of value that can be kind of gleaned from holding off here at this point as well. We could go ahead and lock in a 5th outfielder and really go shallow on outfield in this bid if we wanted to. Maybe a Stephen Kwan. That's not a bad play, honestly. He just gives us the consistency, right? Like we lock in a solid outfield floor. No, I think. Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. I like that. We'll grab Quan. I know we're real heavy on outfield a little bit here, but it's a bit different variation than some of my other teams. So it'll give us a chance to try a new strategy. And again, like really test my theory of, hey, if we think that pitcher and infielder value is there later in the draft, then we should have no problem just feeling good, laying our conviction down, and grabbing that good outfield value if and when it's still available to us in these rounds of the draft, right? Robbie Ray goes shortly after, followed by Max Fried, and that tier of pitching is gone, so I'm not totally surprised on that. Yeah, I think it just likely means that we'll be trying to grab a few high upside arms here, kind of as we get to the latter half of the draft. See Snell go. He's one of those guys I would like to pick up coming back here. Yeah, so we have Free, we have Varsho, who I do like. Again, I've seen his profile quite a bit before, right? That speed, high power guy. I think he's a pretty good athlete, and that's kind of evident by the fact that he is like so elite in the outfield. There's been some buzz out of Jay's camp about him hitting in the 2 hole. I can't see that just kind of given some of the other hitters that are on the team. But if they are looking just to kind of balance their lineup out, which I know has been a big issue in the past couple of years, then I can see him going there. And all of a sudden, a Varsho hitting like after a Springer before a Guerrero and Bichette does it for me, right? Yoshida. Okay. See, yeah, and now all of a sudden, unless you really like Nick Castellanos this year, which I do not personally, you can see that we're pretty well tapped out on a lot of the outfield stuff that's there. I know he's missing the start of the year, but I still love Joe Musgrove. And Vinny P goes. That's sad. That is sad. I think that we try to. I think we grab Musgrove here. Right? What are our options? I think I like Musgrove. I like Green as a high upside arm. I like Gilbert as a high upside arm. We have some infielders that are here and decent as well. Yeah, I think we just grab Musgrove. We probably know that we're going to have a few more pitchers in this build than I normally would look to have anyways, maybe in that 7 range. I doubt we'll go 8. We'll see what happens with outfield. But yeah, just somewhere in that 7 range. So I don't mind. I know Musgrove's missing the start of the year. I don't mind rostering him because I do think that his upside is just higher than anyone that's left on the board here. And coming back, honestly, I'm fine grabbing. Yeah, I think we hold off on pitcher. And we probably grab one of these outfielders, or do I grab Logan Gilbert? Yeah. You know what? Give me one of these. Let's get another infielder. I really like Christian Walker this year. Guys hit some bombs in the spring. And yeah, we'll kind of just look to have the 2 towers at middle infield here. No, I don't think I'll be doing any of the perfect game this year. Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know necessarily, the perfect game is basically just this kind of on steroids. It's 250 buy-in, I believe, and yeah, it's a big boy tournament, most definitely. So what I'm actually going to do while we have a little bit of time on the queue here is I'm actually in a few slow drafts as well. Just trying to really get as much in for this season as possible. So you can see here, I'm 6 deep on this one already. Pretty balanced roster. What's going on here? Oops, sorry about that. Yeah, it's just a little sneak peek behind the scenes for you guys. On this one, I have Ghostman again. You can tell I like my Musgrove, Kershaw, Rodriguez, Flaherty, and Detmers. Ideally, I'd like one more pitcher that's a little more dependable. There's a lot of risk built into that staff, so that's something to think about as I come into my final picks of this one. I have Tatis, Arenado, Pena, Rizzo, Kettle Marte, and Turner. Honestly, probably fine at infield, and then on the outfield, we got Betts, Reynolds, Bryant, Stanton, Winker, and Kutch. Yeah, I think that given the fact that we have 2 picks left in this one, I'm probably going to look to prioritize pitcher and outfield, shutting off infield, as I feel pretty good about that group there's ability to stay on the field and just give us some results. So instantly a name that I know has been getting some buzz that kind of jumps out to me on the pitching side of things right at the top of the queue is Alex Cobb. He's on a good team in San Fran. They usually have a good track record with, like kind of reinventing those pitchers and whatnot. So I like him as a good source to provide some steady innings over the course of the year. So let's go ahead and grab him. Yeah, just a little detour from what we have going on currently. So let's find our draft. Here we go. And we're 3 picks away. So let's get a quick glimpse of what happened. So we see Gonzalez, Bellinger come off the board. Correa, the Jesus Lizard, Alex Verdugo, Morton, Wright, Muncy, Cronenworth, Edmund, McCarthy, Gilbert, Henderson, Sale, Lowe. No real surprises there. A couple pitchers I wouldn't have minded grabbing, but that's okay. As far as who's still on the board here, we could really go ahead and just lock up outfield and grab Mitchie Hands. Kirby would have been a nice pick. Honestly, I'm not loving anything. Let's go ahead and grab. Let's just get Matt Chapman. Kind of a boring pick, but he'll shore up our infield, get us that third guy, and again, someone who's going to be out there every day, right? So he might not have the highest ceiling necessary, but he does give us that steady source of points throughout the course of the year. And now is where I'm getting a little worried that we're falling behind in pitching a little bit. Of this group, I like either Nasty Nestor or Lance Lynn. Probably go Lance Lynn, honestly, just with his track record. He's a little more proven. Musgrove's going to be, yeah. We'll go with the big beefy baseball boy Lance Lynn for our third pitcher. So we're almost to that point in the draft where I really think you can kind of just throw ADP out the window, and if you believe in a guy, go ahead and get him, right? Like that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, like, I mean, when you're looking at this, like, not only are you getting the guy that you kind of do like and making sure that you guarantee him on your roster, right? But you have to think as well. You break this into like two separate tournaments almost. You play in like a standard best ball for the first, I forget exactly, but I think it's like 18, 19 weeks of the season or something along those lines, right? So you do that. Having some on the field issues. But yeah, no. So like, not only do you go ahead and you guarantee that you get the guy that you want, but what you're doing as well is, let's say a player's got a standard ADP of the 15th round, and you grab them in the 12th. All you're going to be doing is diversifying your teams a little bit from other people's, right? So it might just give you a unique combination for the finals that not a lot of other people have. And honestly, that one extra outfielder, that one pitcher, whatever, could be the difference in kind of a sprint to the finish tournament like this ultimately shapes up to be in those latter half or so. Thoughts on Trevor May for saves? I actually don't hate Trevor May for saves this year, but it's important to look at like the context of this tournament, right? And this format. So you're not like, a common theme you're going to see is a lot of relievers going, and that's purely for the fact of saves not really being a big component, right? So we'll come down here to the scoring, and you can see like 5 points for a win, 5 points for a quality start, 3 points for a strikeout, 3 for inning pitch, -3 for an earned run. Not really anything for saves. That's why, like, compared to traditional fantasy, you're going to see starters be valued a lot more in this than you would actual just general relievers. And see Canna come off the board, Kike Hernandez, Suarez, Andres Jimenez, Nestor goes, Josh Bell. See, coming up, who do we got at the top here? I like Kodai Senga. Joe Ryan's had some good buzz. Jeffrey Spring. Actually, no. Yeah, let's go ahead. We'll grab my favorite little pitcher down here. Jeffrey Springs. I know he's been getting a lot of hype with the Rays camp this spring, but I do like him to really provide some quality innings and that upside that I think we could use on our staff. We definitely have the option of grabbing another infielder here as well. Maybe we'll look to do that when they come back to us. So yeah, let's go ahead and just lock in Springs and see what comes back to us on the turn here. But yeah, I definitely like Trevor May to be the leading contender for the A's saves here in regular fantasy. I think how much value you want to put on that depends on what you actually think the A's are going to be for a team this year. I don't have high hopes personally, but hey, a save is a save, and they're not always the easiest to come by. Okay, we're almost back up here. I really like Rowdy in this spot. This is also the point of the draft where I tend to really start looking at stack options. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of natural pairings. We could go ahead and grab another pitcher and kind of lock in an arm. I do like Joe Ryan. He's been someone that I've seen myself taking quite a bit of. And Ty France goes there. Yeah, I'd say we go ahead and grab Rowdy here. I mean, there's only what, like 35, 40 guys that actually hit 40 or 30 homers last year. He was one of them. And I just like Milwaukee this year, honestly. I think they're going to be good. Yeah, we'll go ahead and grab Rowdy and take care of another infield spot. So like I mentioned, I think just given the shape of our outfield, we probably look to add. Yeah, I think we look to add one more good value at outfield. We're not in a rush to do it, but we just see how the board shapes up and kind of what falls down to us. And then we'll kind of just value hound a little bit of pitching and infield ideally as we sort of progress down the board here. That's why you grab outfield like Jared Kelenic going 150. Like, I know he's having a good spring, but that guy could literally be sent down 2 weeks into the season, right? You don't really know necessarily. I just like grabbing the certainty and kind of knowing that the guys I put into my lineup are actually going to be there when times come to cash. So we see Trey Mancini go. He's actually a guy that I do like for a bounce back year. I think getting traded, he never really looked right in Houston there. It was a bit of a rough year for him to start the season in Baltimore. I think a full year, like going through spring, kind of getting his routines down with the Cubs, it'll be a solid way for him to just bounce back and have a quality season here. Casas, Will Smith. Ooh, we get a little bit of a run on purple here, hey? Interesting. Can't say that I love that. Considering I was looking at grabbing somebody. Ah, Detmers, he's a guy that we liked. Okay. So coming back, we could go. I don't hate Peralta this year. He's been getting a lot of hate from people though that I'm not sure I fully understand, but that's all right. God, this is where we get thin, thin, thin. I think I'd shoot the moon here. I really like Grayson Rodriguez. I kind of have him pegged as this year's Spencer Strider if he can stay healthy for the whole time. I think in a best ball tournament, and especially with how this build's shaping up, where we're probably going to be carrying 7 pitchers minimum, I don't think it's bad having like a high octane arm that can shoot the moon. I mean, he could also flop hard as well for us. Let's not be naive. That's a very real possibility. I just want to see, where did Dustin May go? Oh, he might still be out there as well. He's a guy that I've kind of been targeting later. Oh, he went at 164. Wait, what? We'll see. All right, so we grabbed Grayson. I'm really confused here. Where did this guy take him? 126. Oh, wow. He went big early on May. But hey, that's what I'm talking about. Like, realistically, when I'm running out my projections and kind of my own internal rankings, if the biggest thing for May is health, right? So if he actually manages to stay healthy this year, like you're telling me in a world that he's not up there with the Chris Bassett's, the Nestor Cortez's, the Coyote Sengas, like easily, right? We could easily see him being the best out of that group. So that's what I'm saying. Go get your guys. If you believe in someone, do it. Okay, coming back. Don't hate Jorge Polanco here. It just as a nice little value fall on the infield. We do have Ryan McMahon, a Coors guy. Hunter Brown goes. Yeah, I think we go ahead and we just grab shit. No, that's what we were gonna grab. That's okay. Hmm. Puts us in a bit of a bind, most definitely. I don't love McMahon necessarily, but hey, we'll get that Coors bump. We need an outfielder. He's the best guy on the board. We'll go ahead and grab some exposure to him. Again, not one of those picks you necessarily love to make, but I think given just the overall like state of our team and current build, you could do worse in that scenario than him. All right, let's have a little fun. Like, throw out, who are some of your guys' sleepers for the year? Who should we look at? Anyone like way off the radar that you think is poised for a crazy year? Like, what are you doing to set the edge for yourself in these kind of tournaments? Conforto might have been another guy that I looked at in that scenario, just as like a high upside dude to round out our outfield, but I think I'm okay with that. Honestly, I have my eye a little bit on Seth Brown if he comes around to us here. Might be a bit of a stretch, but that's okay. We're not really showing too many stacks, which scares me. I wonder where. Yeah, Grisham went already. That's okay. I'm just trying to think of kind of stacks for our top hitters here, right? You know that Jeff McNeil comes off the board a little later for sure. I like Rasmussen. It's tough being close to the end, right? Because you really just have to sort of wait and see what happens in terms of like who's falling and actually making it back to you and everything like that. And we're really flying off the board here now. All right. A lot of conviction in these later rounds. I love it. So after McMahon, we see the Conforto we already touched on, Rendon, Manaya, Perez, Torres, Hayes, LeMahieu. Honestly, it's just a boring run of infielders. I don't know what to say. We're just at that point in the draft where it's just kind of like, bleh. You're grabbing floor guys. Shoot the moon ceiling, definitely no on all of those. But hey, what are you going to do? Joe Money. Yeah, so I still like Seth Brown. I think if he makes it back to us here, then we can go ahead and shut off our outfielders, knowing that we're locked in and solely focused. Miguel Vargas is a guy I've been targeting a little later as well. And Brown goes, of course he does. Well, I'm not gonna lie, my motivation to fill any of this is kind of low in terms of there. Pedersen goes. You know what? Let's grab Lourdes. He's pretty streaky. He can help us out definitely at some points during the year, I'm sure. And it gives us a nice little stack as well with Christian Walker. I think both of them are going to project. Not that I'm expecting Arizona to be like a killer lineup this year by any means. But I think the two of them are going to project to hit probably somewhere close to the middle, which really just gives us a nice like buffer and kind of just potential again. Like on the days that the Arizona offense is explosive, hey, maybe we're the ones that reap the benefits of that. I also like Ketel Marte. He just went there, we can see. I think of the remaining pitchers that are here, yeah, so we can go ahead and turn outfield off now. I like, honestly, this top three. I think I'd be pretty happy with any of them making it back. Flaherty, I'm in on this year quite a bit, just given the potential upside that he has. Obviously, we just see Maley go, so that's not happening. And we'll queue up McNeil for the walls later. Make sure to stick around after the draft. I haven't decided if I'm going to do another one or not yet. We'll see. Oh, and Baum and Flaherty go, of course. Literally everyone that we had queued up. Hey, that's pretty classic. You know what? Let's grab Evaldi. I'm not too worried about like if McNeil gets sniped. McNeil gets sniped. You know what I mean? I'd rather kind of have the upside of Evaldi pitching. I'm not that concerned. His biggest concern is health, obviously. I'm not too worried about him falling out of the rotation there potentially. Yeah, but like I was saying, make sure you stick around after. I'm not sure if I'm gonna fully do another draft or not yet. We'll see how I'm feeling when this one wraps up. But we will just briefly discuss my team, where I think we excel, where I think we're a little weak, and then maybe just comp it out against some of the stronger builds from this draft as well and see. How many slows do I have going on right now? There's a few. There's a few. Like I said, we're just trying to get them in. Looks like too soon. Okay, so Soler goes. Nice outfield option as well. Cobb, De La Cruz, Bradish, Turner, yeah, looking back, I think I would have probably rather grabbed a pitcher instead of Lourdes, maybe even Ketel Marte, to be honest with you. But that's fine. That's fine. It's good to have some diversity in the builds. Bastard. Yeah, I knew it was looking too good for him to make it back to us. I'd really like to grab, God, one more infielder, I guess, for sure. Yeah, there really is just no good natural stack partners for us, right? Like, I think we like. I said earlier that we liked Yoan Mancada. We might reach a little bit just to make sure that we lock him up. I think Vaughn went off the board a few picks ago, so that's fine. And then, what do we have? We have two left? Yeah. So let's go ahead and we take. I think we go 7-7-6, right? 7 pitchers. Javier, Musgrove, Lynn, Springs, Grayson, and Evaldi. And from there, yeah. Yeah, I think the 7-7-7-6 makes sense. Like I said, we can shut off outfield. I feel pretty strong about that. That's a solid group. Really like the breakout potential of Robert this year. Well, you know what I mean. Like, not necessarily full breakout, but definitely possibility. Sorry, I just want to see if we're going to get sniped here and have to pivot, or what our... I mean, we shouldn't. He's a decent scroll down, but still... Go ahead. Let's take Moncada here. And just given that we're going to be throwing a dart at an extra outfielder, someone I haven't really been able to get in a bunch of drafts yet, but I do like him this year, is Ezequiel Tovar. So let's go ahead and queue him up for our last outfielder. And what do we need on the staff? Honestly, I think we have a pretty solid combination of just like dependable, steady, and maybe we do go an extra hitter here. No. I've been seeing some good stuff about Sonny Gray. Lance. I think Lance actually fits this build pretty good. Right? Because I think we have enough dependable guys that we know are going to give us dependable innings that we can actually like count on to be there. Whereas what we're looking for with Lance is that, yeah, he's obviously going to miss the start of the year, and if we're being reasonable and honest with each other, he's probably going to have one IL stint throughout the season as well. But what he does is he gives the potential for that spike week, right? So he comes in and actually just outperforms any of those guys we've had consistently going, can really drive our pace and our stats for that particular week. So just thinking that's that there. Let's go ahead and grab Tolvar. I think he's a little higher up the board, and hope that McCullers makes it back to us all the way on the wrap here. Sorry, just talking to my girlfriend. She's in Whistler, BC this weekend for a bachelorette trip, so you know what that means. Trouble, trouble, trouble. So far, so good. We had Horner go, Gonsolin, Vaughn Grisham, who's a nice pick as well. I believe just got announced as Atlanta's starting shortstop recently, so some nice value on him. Jerickson Profar, who could be very interesting if he actually lands with the team. Not if, like I'm sure he will at some point this year, but depending on the fit, obviously, if he goes into more of a starting role versus a super utility. You can kind of see a consistent theme here with all these guys that are be taking at the end, these last couple rounds, right? Like they've definitely done something, or they've had a cup of tea in the majors in the past. They're a hype prospect that's coming up this year. Something along those lines, but yeah, definitely no one that you're relying for, and kind of just a lot of dart throws at this point. Hence our Lance McCullers pick here, you know? Hmm. Cookie's a nice little pick at the end as well. Solid bounce back guy. Man, he was one of my favorite pitchers when he was first with Cleveland. Like that guy was nasty when he first came up, right? Sheesh. Sheesh. Peterson. David Peterson. That's definitely a pick, all right. He's someone I haven't seen really. This guy's got some nice little dart throws on his team there. I see what you're doing with the Blackman Stafford. Of course, my man's. Ooh, Beatty. See, this is where we're really just getting those high potential prospects and dart throws sort of thing. And just like that, we're done. All right, McCullers wraps up the squad. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that one. I think we executed the build pretty solidly, depending on how things broke. There was a few things in the latter half of the draft there where I probably would have done things a little bit different. But like I said at the time, it's good to kind of get out of your comfort zone with some of these later round picks and just have different builds, just so you're not kind of relying fully too high on all of the same guys there or anything. Pretty standard builds looking at it for everyone here. Nothing too serious. And boom. Just like that, we're done. So you can see I've got 15 done and completed. Let's just do a quick recap of the team here. So we went with a 7-7-6 build with our outfield on emphasis up at the start in the top half of the draft. So we have Christian Javier, Joe Musgrove, Lance Lynn, Springs, Rodriguez, Nate Eovaldi, and Lance McCullers Jr. Honestly, I really like the overall just dependability and upside mix of this rotation. Like Javier, Musgrove, Lynn are all guys that are gonna, even Eovaldi when he's healthy. They're all horses that are just gonna give you innings, and then yes, there is a little bit of health concerns, but hopefully one of our breakouts comes through and kind of picks up the slack on that. Infield, we went with 7 as well, but we went with Alonso, Walker, Chapman, Tellez, McMahon, Moncada, and Tolvar. So we have a little bit of Colorado action here with Tolvar and McMahon, and just some solid big thumpers who I kind of think tend to get undervalued in this a little bit. You don't really get penalized too much for strikeouts or anything like that. If your player has a bad week, they're just not going to make it into your top 3 for that position in your lineup. So ultimately, I find that the floor is a little higher on some of these guys. So I'm pretty happy with our infield as well. We don't have those like shoot the moon guys potentially besides Alonso. I think we have a solid floor that will carry us all season. And then finally, what I think is the strength of our team, outfield, we wrap it up with Soto, Rando Rosarina, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, Stephen Kwan, and Lourdes Gurriel. So again, we have a little bit of White Sox action to pair with Moncada. That kind of seems to be where our team build went to go. We're locked in with Soto. Yeah, I just all in all, I really like how this build turned out. Maybe we could have swapped out a few different pitchers for infielders, but yeah, all in all, pretty happy. Just want to look quickly at the rest of the league and see how everyone kind of projected here. Da-da. And I think just given the time, that's probably where I'm going to wrap it up for today. So if you enjoyed the content, thanks so much for hanging out. Make sure to give this stream just a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out tremendously. And look for a couple of videos to be posted in the upcoming weeks. So thanks again for joining all. See you later.